lied. We're not watching Caroline Levitt. I lied. Oh, geez, what's going on with the cat cam here? 1 second. Let's fix the cat cam really quick. Boom. We moved the cat cam so much. You never know what Arya's going to do. That's why we got to move the cat cam so much. Boom. We're watching Trump on ABC from last night. Maybe.
One-on-one with President Trump in the Oval Office. President Trump's first 100 days in office. Terry Moran with the president tonight. Facing an historically low approval rating, Terry asks the president...
Are you... What low approval rating are you talking about, bro? We cannot be happier with President Trump. What's up, Captain? Welcome in.
About his tariffs and higher prices, about the U.S. economy as a whole, immigration, the war in Ukraine, and how President Trump responded when Terry asks if he still has confidence in his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth. Also tonight, we're tracking life-threatening storms at this hour, Cincinnati to Syracuse, from Texas all the way up to New York. 45 million Americans on alert for possible tornadoes, thunderstorms,
Mr. Hotel
and
is so hot
dangerous winds
tonight,
gusting up to 90 miles per hour. Ginger Z standing by with the forecast.
Oh, thank God we can learn about the weather too, guys.
Driving through a field and then smashing through a building with an after-school program, the car coming out the other side. 4 girls killed, what authorities are now saying about the driver. Tonight, Amazon's idea for customers to post how much more items are costing you because of the president's tariffs. The president and the White House furious. The president getting on the phone with Jeff Bezos, how this ended. And do customers have a right to know why prices are going up? North of the border tonight, the election victory in Canada. After President Trump's tariffs and talk of making Canada America's 51st state,
we're still going to do that.
Canadians rejecting it all, fueling the Liberal candidate.
Canadians rejecting it all. Canada. I'm sorry to tell you, but President Trump was not on the ballot. You guys are fucked. Have fun.
Mark Carney to victory. The prime minister's warning after the election: we are over the shock of the American betrayal, he said, but we should not
American betrayal. Pay your fair share, buddy. Oh my God.
When the scaffolding collapsed, the boat dollar served in Europe during.
Shut the hell up.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Tuesday night. And we begin tonight with the ABC News exclusive. Today marks President Trump's 100th day in office. And tonight, our Terry Moran sitting down with the president in the Oval Office. Terry asking the president about his tariffs, the economy, immigration, the war in Ukraine, and how the president answered when Terry asked if the president still has confidence in his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, after those 2 group chats using the Signal app discussing military plans involving Yemen, U.S. military jets, and their timing. One of those chats included his wife. The president facing an historically low approval rating at the 100-day mark amid concern in this country over the president's tariffs and higher prices, fears of inflation. Tonight, our first look at the primetime interview that airs tonight, Terry asking the president about his advice to Americans to hang tough and what that meant when it comes to the economy.
Are you hanging tough? Are you hanging tough, Dome? Wasn't there a song called "Hanging Tough"? Was that by the the New Kids on the Block?
Well, you said something a couple weeks ago that struck me. You said,
"Come on, Dome
concerning
DJ."
Tariffs, which
I think Dome
economists say are
Dome
going to
DJ's
raise
on the
prices.
road.
You said, "quote, hang tough. It won't be easy." You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect? Some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. You know, we had a tremendous campaign. I said all these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world.
Brad knows for sure that it was New Kids on the Block. Brad, what's your favorite New Kids on the Block song? We'll play it next for the next musical break. Give us your favorite New Kids on the Block song, Brad. I know that you're a big fan.
They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that.
I found it.
Down into
I found it, Dome Radio.
A much lower number. when you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes,
and
so 145%
Relax,
tariffs on
Terry.
China, and that is
That's good.
basically
That's
an
good.
embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on
They
everything
deserve
from
it.
electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
The president there on his tariffs during this wide-ranging primetime interview tonight. Terry also asking the president about his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, and whether he still has confidence in him. Here's what the president said.
I want to ask one question about...
You got to sit down with the president. Why aren't we showing the whole fucking interview? Why are we editing it?
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated, and I think he's going to be a very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth?
I don't have 100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Of course, the interview did continue. You did finish it. The president was, and we should point this out, willing to answer a multitude of questions here. Let's bring in Terry Moran, live at the White House tonight. Terry, of course, I read through the entire transcript. You asked about the economy, immigration.
You sat down with the president. I'm not here to listen to the douchebag.
Was really eager to talk about immigration, his efforts on the border. That's something that he considers a big success. We also talked about Vladimir Putin and whether or not President Trump still trusts him. And we got a rare look inside the Oval Office that he has really transformed. It was fascinating.
Great. Why don't we fucking
Terry
listen
Moran, live
to
at
it?
the White House. Terry, thank you. Tonight, the full ABC News exclusive interview, a primetime special. President Trump, the first 100 days, the interview in the Oval Office. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here, 7 p.m. Central, right here on ABC. Our thanks to the president and to Terry Moran. In the meantime, we turn to the other news this Tuesday night. More than 45 million Americans on alert for dangerous storms from Texas, really all the way up to New York, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Buffalo to Syracuse, all bracing tonight. Strong winds and rain amid tornado warnings in Potosi, Missouri, damage to planes and buildings. This is the Springfield Airport.
Not the interview at all. 1 second. Oh, God. Oh, there it is. They do show it all. Okay. Mr. Rotella getting upset about nothing. Story of the day today. Mr. Rotella getting upset about nothing. God, there's so much shit that happened today. This is a 40-minute interview. I mean, okay, we're gonna do this instead of Caroline Leavitt. We're doing this instead of Caroline Leavitt. Boom, boom, boom. My friends, hang tough when we get back, the Trump interview. I don't know what's worse. The part that I know what's worse. What's worse is Mr. Rotella even knew that was a New Kids on the Block song. How the hell did I know that? How the hell do I know any of this stuff? All right, let's watch that ABC interview. They do have it in full. It's 40 minutes. Let's go.
This is an ABC News special from inside the White House.
When you step back in the Oval Office, after you were reelected.
Right.
What went through your mind? Triumphant when you walked back?
Yeah, there's a feeling of triumph.
He took off his pants and sat right behind the desk.
President Donald J. Trump on his 100th day in office. From the #1 issue, the economy.
People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually.
To immigration.
Yeah,
It is
baby.
an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
To Elon Musk.
Why?
Did Doge go too far, too fast, too reckless?
And the concerns
Oh my
from
God,
many
these people are
Americans
such
about
pussies.
the impact of tariffs.
Everything's going to be just fine.
President Trump, the first 100 days, the interview in the Oval Office with ABC
great
News
stuff.
anchor and senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
That's smoke.
Earlier today, I sat down with
God,
President
just
Trump
get to
in
the
the Oval
interview,
Office
Terry.
for an exclusive interview on his 100th day of his second term. It was a great opportunity
Look
to
at the
ask him
posters
some
behind
wide-ranging
him.
questions about the issues that most concern so many Americans. We talked about the economy and his tariffs. We talked about immigration and those deportations. And you can see here the
What's up,
White House
Elite
has
Dumber
put
Finno
up
Ballyhope?
some posters that they say show some of the violent criminals that have so far been
That
deported.
they
We talked
say
about a lot more
show?
as well. The president's answers were provocative, at times combative, and always he was strong in his convictions about his policies. But before we get to the interview, we begin tonight with a look inside the Oval Office that Donald Trump has transformed.
Okay, I'm down for this. One second. We got a little opening for this. Better than ABC.
How are you?
What's up, Eric
This is
and
the
Amy
Oval
Ballyhope?
Office. This is the Resolute desk, which is really something very spectacular. There's nothing quite like it. And they give you a choice of about 7 different desks, but this is the one I chose. Ronald Reagan had it, FDR had it, a few people had it.
JFK,
but I
most
found it to be
famous.
the most beautiful.
It is amazing.
This is an amazing space, and amazing maybe architecturally wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S., and if properly used, a lot of good things can happen.
I see Ronald Reagan over there.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Right to your left.
Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here, and put him a little bit larger. It sort of
Just
seemed
going
to
to take
fit
one of
very
these
nicely.
challenge coins.
You have Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a 4-termer. And,
That's why he's up there, because we're going to go for 4 terms ourselves.
went through a war. You have Lincoln, you have Washington.
Valley
But you
Hope,
look
Fat
over here,
Kitchen,
that's
welcome in.
Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. That was his claim to fame. Over here, you have the original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar with that one, but I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural, with malice toward none, with
Right,
charity toward
right.
all. Is that-
Well, he was a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents, and that
changes,
says
yeah,
something.
it does.
What does this say about how you feel about the country and the office?
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up.
Valley Hope
pictures
Mom
that
1 2
were
3.
Largely used, and in many cases, great men, in this case men, but great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems.
Yeah.
This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see this space be treated properly. I've added
like
a
it,
lot
sir.
to the space in terms of beautification, In terms of modernization, that's a
gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So, and it's an honor to have you people with us.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Here in the Oval Office, it's special. 100 days into your second term.
Thanks, Terry. Let's get to it, please.
What's the one thing, just one thing,
Mr. Rotella,
that you think is the most significant thing you've done so far in these 100 days?
I touched her once.
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murders, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly.
Taz Mache says, I really think you need a drink today, sir. I appreciate that, Taz. I'm ahead of you. I'm actually enjoying some ranch water. You're from Texas. You should know what ranch water is, Miss Taz Mache. As a bartender, how do you make your ranch water? Get it inside the chat.
Very quickly, and I think that's very significant, but we're doing other things that are very significant. Results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, you know, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years. They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But
I have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, I would really say that the border is so important. You know, just
and
can't
we'll get there. Immigration, huge,
yeah.
And we're going to get there. But I want to start with the economy, the #1 issue.
Terry, can
for
you
so
hurry up?
many
We got a
people,
lot to get
just
to.
about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So
no one's worried.
How do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade. We were losing $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion a year, not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way, and at some point there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. You know, I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous economy, tremendous success. And we did tremendous numbers of tariffs on, we took in a lot of money from tariffs, China in particular, hundreds of billions.
Would you listen to this? Taz Mache says, ranch water is my specialty. Taiwan rimmed, nailed it. With agave, nailed it. Silver tequila. 1 ounce lime juice topped with Topo Chico. Man, I miss Topo Chico. We don't have Topo Chico in Florida. Garnished with dehydrated lime wheel. Wow, Taz, very nice.
Billions of dollars in tariffs. We had no inflation, as you know. We had an incredible economy. We're given credit for a great economy. But I said, we have to fix this. Otherwise, it's just not self-sustaining.
Well, one of the things you ran on was you'd said you'd bring prices down on day one, and that it would happen fast, and that it would happen fast.
I have.
Most economists will tell you that tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around 1% inflation, which is like a perfect number. And then when Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say. And in 100 days, we took over. We had bad inflation for 4 years, for 2 years of, especially 2 years of his administration. I would say record-setting like we've never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that.
Yeah.
Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few states during the last couple of days. It was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week. Eggs, 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 like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said, they've doubled. And well, eggs are down 87% since I got involved.
Excellent.
A lot of that is
And
bird
by the way,
flu,
and there were
right?
plenty of eggs for Easter.
Bird flu,
which we
you
just went
fucking moron, Terry. There's no such thing.
through. There were plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter. My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
Okay.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down, but we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be cute.
We'll get to that. You said something a couple of weeks ago that struck me. You said concerning the tariffs, which
What's up,
economists
Speed
say
Valley
are going
Ho?
to raise prices. You said, quote, hang tough. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should
Well, I've
expect,
said
some
that.
hard times?
I've said that
because of
during
these
my
tariffs?
campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. You know, we had a tremendous campaign. I said all of these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not
But
going to
hard
let that
times?
happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I
Hang
think
tough.
great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China.
is it
Your
that-
Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're
and
trying
that-
to say something's going to happen,
No,
Terry.
no, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business. I
Terry,
want to ask you.
Terry, I do know business.
Yes,
and
so 145% tariffs on China,
Yeah.
and that is
That's good.
basically
That's
an
good.
embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on
They
everything
deserve
from
it.
electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going
That's
to eat
mathematics.
it. China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop Etsy stores, small businesses that
Really?
became
They
big
haven't had a
businesses.
boom because of inflation.
Well,
the
no,
boom,
Yeah,
what
the
they've
boom
done-
was inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I
Yes.
mean, you read the news.
What is this guy talking about? Small business. The Biden administration and COVID absolutely destroyed small business on purpose.
Yes.
do the business
now
stuff,
they
I
face,
assume.
Now, a lot of them built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're gonna
before
make
you.
more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an extinction
I've
event.
been here.
They're disaster
event.
for them.
Terry,
I've been
relax.
here for 3 months. I've taken a trade deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here. We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country between the open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. Our country had inflation that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't mention that. Why don't you mention that? We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. People say 48 years. Probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down. The energy prices are coming down. Gasoline's coming down. It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
Coming up.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
Who gives a fuck if it's working?
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Are going great.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
I don't like
As
the
you
way
said,
Terry says okay to me.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
About my message?
Methods. About your methods. How you're
They
accomplishing
seem to
this.
work.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single
What's
person
up, Knife?
who gets deported gets a hearing first?
No, not if they're an
Well,
illegal
are we
alien.
talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number's 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21...
DM Wah joining us for the very first time inside the Dome chat. Everyone give a nice ballyho to DM.
million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
But the
did
law-
we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first. Do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask.
Are they citizens? I don't think that non-citizens get the same rights as American citizens. You're welcome, DM, and it's Mr. Rotella. I know you're new, but come on, it's Mr. Rotella.
The lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to
The
do?
law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They
Yeah.
came into our country
Right.
illegally.
And
We
there's-
have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't.
Why didn't they follow the No. If you didn't follow the legal process coming here, we're not following the legal process getting you out.
have a trial, a major trial
not
for
saying
every
major.
person that came in illegally.
Thank you,
We
DM
have
Ballyhope.
thousands of
I like you
murderers
already.
that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out,
They're
and we have to
bad
get them
guys,
out fast.
really bad guys. But in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come
If
into
they're
our country
citizens-
illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
No.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Venezuelans. You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal
They are,
record
by the way.
at all.
Well,
but I want to.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to
When
read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't-
So
I don't-
I want
that's
to read
what
you
you
something.
say.
Well, it's based
Go
on
ahead.
their lawyer, what their lawyers
Go
have
ahead.
said. Okay.
Go ahead.
Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said it was dangerous, and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. Is
agree
Joe
with that.
Rogan right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, we want to be careful, and we are careful. We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him are vicious people. And what they've done to the country is
most likely Satanists.
unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? Way, way down. You know why? Because their criminals are now living happily in the United States of America, and we're getting them out. And I was elected to get them out, and we're getting them out.
Under the law.
And we're getting them out fast, and we're getting them out legally. Now, in some cases, we have judges. In some cases, they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible. And I think she's got big problems, frankly. And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait a
man.
minute.
Yep.
We have to be
We don't want to talk about the things that we want to talk about, Terry. Terry, I don't like this relationship so far.
And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to the
that's up to the El Salvadorian president.
What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power
Terry,
of the presidency...
fake news, there's two phones, Terry. Got you.
Call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say
two
he
phones.
is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered
Liar.
to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, a great genius, right?
There we go,
and
baby.
Now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my number one issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened. And it happened
in 100 days.
Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Well,
over
wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the
do
letter
that.
MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
Show us a picture.
We'll
and you think
agree
it
to
was
Let's do it.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He
Fair
had
enough.
MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
No.
What a long way Terry has come to. That was Photoshop. Now they could be interpreted that way. Keep hammering, Terry.
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Coming up.
God,
the
what a
Russia-Ukraine
pussy Terry
war.
is, huh?
Do you think he wants
this
peace?
is
Do you think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
And that historic meeting.
Oh, God, fucking Zelensky. Why are we
President
still
Trump,
dealing with
the
this?
First 100 days continues.
Trump should have drowned him in the baptism water.
I was just in Rome, and to that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Sure.
Take us into that moment.
Well, look, the Ukraine is a very serious, very tough situation. And this is Biden's war. This is not my war, but I want to see if I can solve it, because probably close to 5,000 young soldiers a week are being killed, Russian and Ukrainian. We also spend a tremendous amount of money in Ukraine, and Europe should be spending much more than us. They're not. They're spending much less. It's been badly handled by the Biden administration. It's been badly handled all the way around,
That moment.
The moment was a moment of solace, in a sense, because tremendous numbers of people are dying. A lot of his people are dying. They're being killed. And I feel very badly about it. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It was never even a thought of it happening.
It does feel like something's happening after that meeting with Zelensky in St. Peter's. You posted this on social media. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas and cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe...
Well, that was part of my post, but you're right. That was a part of a post.
And it says, it makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along.
Yeah, that's possible. Sure.
He might be...
He could be tapping me along a little bit. I would say that he would like to stop the war. I think that if it weren't for me, I think he'd want to take over the whole country, personally. I always felt. So when I left, there wasn't even a chance that this would happen. When Biden got involved, I won't say whether or not he handled it properly, but obviously it wasn't good, because the war started. Putin went in, the war started. I believe that Putin wanted to get all of Ukraine once he went in. And I think part of the reason he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how incompetently Milley and all these guys handled that. It was one of the greatest embarrassments of our lifetimes, but maybe in the history of our country. Okay, so Putin went in. I think Putin wanted all of Ukraine. Right. I think if I didn't win the election, he would have gotten all of Ukraine. I think he would have taken all of Ukraine. I think his first choice, never with me, he would have never gone in. With this group of losers, he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan. He said, wow, this is my chance. Because it was always the apple of his eye. I talked to him. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I think he wanted the whole country.
You've said for months.
And because of me, I do believe that he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't forget,
you think he wants peace?
You
think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think
Still.
he does. I think because
even with the raining missiles on.
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him?
Do
you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No,
just
I'm
tell
not,
you,
sir.
I don't trust a lot of people. But I do think
What's up,
this.
Shaka Dove
I think
Valley
that
Hope? Healy Dope.
Let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. Okay. It's a war that never should have happened. It did happen because of incompetent people.
Last question on this.
But it never should have happened.
If there's no peace deal, will the U.S. cut off military aid to Ukraine?
I don't want to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you whether or not
Oh,
I would or
God,
not. I want
please,
to leave
it
that
better
as a
be
big,
yes.
fat secret because I don't want to ruin
It's
a
a big,
negotiation.
fat
But
I'd be worried
I will
if I were
tell you, I
Ukrainian.
was not happy when I saw Putin shooting missiles into a few towns and cities, and that was not something that I like seeing, and I thought it was inappropriate, but I think the whole war is inappropriate.
Okay.
Again, it's a war that shouldn't have happened. This is a war that if the election weren't rigged, and it was totally rigged, the 2020 election, if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have had the embarrassment of Afghanistan. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had any of the problems that you have right now.
I want to ask one
and
question.
you wouldn't have had inflation either.
All right. I want to ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the
We're going to talk about that instead of Trump saying and talking about the rigged election. I love how Trump is, we have not wavered from the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. And I love it because it was.
signal chat with his wife on it, where
Obviously.
he's discussing that attack.
Joe Biden did not receive more votes than Barack Obama. I mean, talk about the most racist thing possible.
In Yemen, there's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
Yeah, just like
I
old
had a
Yeller,
talk with
Terry.
them, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated. And I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have
maybe
100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
It's a pretty important
I
position.
have no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Let's go.
Whoa,
Coming up,
I love
President
it.
Trump on Elon Musk and Doge.
Did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
More like not fast enough. More like not fast enough and not enough people fired. We should have also fired Terry. You're fired, Terry. Mr. Rotella's going to be right back. I'm grabbing a beer. Two seconds. What's everybody laughing at? Mr. Rotella forgets what he says 10 seconds after he says it. What's going on with our camera? I'll have a little dance break. All right, Dome, come on. Can you focus for once, Dome?
President Trump, the first 100 days
Is going great.
Elon Musk and Doge. Everyone knows that there's wasteful government spending. It's really important. But the cuts have had some serious consequences. There have been cuts to foreign aid programs that save lives and keep people alive overseas.
Great.
There's been
Are they saving American lives?
research at the National Institutes of Health on cancer, on Alzheimer's, that has had to be stopped. And the question I think people have is, did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
No, I think Doge has been saved $150 billion. We saved, that's a lot of money. There's also a lot of things right now under investigation, which is going to increase that amount by a lot. That's a tremendous amount of money. There are some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall we've saved
No. Let's not put anything back.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now it's $150 billion, and heading south.
You don't know what it's going to be because we have things that are at a very high level that are being looked at right now. We also found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, as you know. We found a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraud. Fraudulent things were taking place, and we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because of it.
A legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department.
You don't know that, Terry.
You don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been referrals to the? Are there criminal
How
referrals?
would you know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally are. There's been no investigation from the Justice Department.
How do you know that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
now I'm asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have
now
been.
I'm asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the work of
the government. Take a look at some of these things that took place. Billions of dollars we give it to people for no reason whatsoever. Of course there have been.
I want to bring up what is true.
I hope that the next 100 days are going to be so freaking awesome. I've loved the first 100 days. If we can do boom, 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 or if we can block out these days, I mean, come on, baby, come on, give us something to stream about. We need hearings. Taz Rashay says, I'm starting to love this interview. Thank you, Taz.
Truly one of, to a
Me
lot
too.
of people,
I love this
one
stuff.
of the biggest achievements of your first term. That is Operation Warp Speed. You got that COVID vaccine up and going and distributed, and a lot of people
Interesting
took it,
question
and a lot
here.
of people that feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly. This is a very much different thing than COVID in terms of rapidity and speed and other things.
What's up for America?
Measles
Valley
have
Hope.
been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much.
Except for when it comes to deporting illegal aliens, Terry.
And you can't tell moms and dads, it's a good thing to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I recommend it, yeah.
Got it. That
do
was
I
my
mandate
question.
it? No.
No, I didn't
But
ask
I do recommend it, yes.
Good. Do you think you're...
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism, do you think
We should
Kennedy
all be
recommends the
skeptic
measles
about
vaccine?
everything.
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You're satisfied with his
Yeah, I mean, he
response on this?
recommended that they go out and get the vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still ahead.
I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
Because we don't
President
like
Trump,
them, Terry.
The first 100 days continues.
This guy's a moron.
I want to talk a little bit about presidential power, the powers that you have in the presidency temporarily that the American people have given you, right? You've revoked a lot of people's security clearances.
Thank
You've revoked
God.
people's security details who are
It's called blinding the deep state, Terry.
still threatened, with death threats. You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people
Well,
you
they
don't
obviously
like.
Stream
agreed because
cheers
they paid
to
me
the
a lot of
cause.
money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal
These are
government. That's
these
their
are
bread and
big
butter.
boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not
You
people
got a lot of
that are
leverage as
easily
president.
intimidated.
As president, you've got all the cards.
And they paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You're
No,
crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that
we have a clause in the thing that while we admit no wrongdoing, but it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's these are the most powerful firms in the world. And they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way, but they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess the question out of that is the concern that people have.
Dome Radio, if you are here, we're going to need a musical break. If you're not here, let us know.
Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what.
It's called retribution, Terry.
You're really not asking, and you should be asking. There has never been a president in this country, in the history, that was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And, you know, people figured, well, maybe that's it. Finally, we got, you know, he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter. And then I came back. And I came back because I have tremendous support. You know, when you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states, I won the popular vote, I won 2,750
yes, sir,
districts
the counties,
compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
Yes, we do.
But does that give you the right to go after your political opponents with the powers of this office?
That's what I voted for, Terry. Oh, my God.
All I'm doing, hey, Biden did something to me, and I did something to Biden. And you know why I did it? Because he's grossly incompetent. That's not a man that should be allowed to, you know, be looking at things that are very confidential.
But what about,
because 71
here's
a man that used an auto pen to sign very important documents. Now, who really?
Thank you, Dome Radio.
Do you think he knew that they were using an auto pen?
Nice one.
I mean, he used an auto pen to sign very, very important documents. And so those are really the questions you should be asking. What do you think of the auto pen? Who wielded the auto pen? Because whoever that person was,
I bet it was Terry.
Whoever the person that wielded the auto pen, he was really the president of the United States. Because
you are the president, right?
I don't think that Biden knew anything about it.
Fair enough. But you are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No.
Because we don't like them.
Dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I think
These people
are
made you angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to go into top secret information. I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay. I understand you just had a phone call with a new Canadian.
How can so many people that are not part of the administration have so much access to classified information? Why? What does it have to do with them anymore? Right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking about. Why would they even have? Why does Dick Cheney need to have classified information at this point? He's been taken away from all of them.
Canadian premier, and they just had this election.
Yeah,
you were a big issue in it, and Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over. Canada's going to become the 51st
Great,
state.
Canada's going to ruin itself
and it
now. Good luck.
A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world.
We're doing
what?
Like
the 4 people that live in Canada, Terry?
We're doing great.
Well,
prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
But do you think, I'm going to ask
good.
you, if I may, do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you for the opinion, but more importantly, thank you for having us here. I have one more question. It's a big one. It's a question that you know a lot of people have out there. What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
Bro, he's the president. All right? We're the president. We have a mandate. All right? We want to fire people that are not doing their job at their job. We want to cut spending, that they are spending money on things that we do not believe in. President Trump is doing what we voted for.
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again. We have a country that was failing. We have a country that was laughed at all over the world. We had a leader that was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. The election was rigged. He should have never been there. Our country suffered greatly, and now our country's coming back like nobody can believe. I have editorials just today where they're saying they've never seen anything like it. They love it. Our country's coming back, and we're respected again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Consumer confidence through the roof. The small business that I work for, one of the best 4 months ever this month.
Very much.
Once again, we want to thank President
Get the
Trump
fuck out of here, Terry.
White House.
Get out of here, Terry. I don't want to hear you anymore. That was a blast. I needed that. That was great tonight. I needed that. We are not done yet, Dome. We still got a cabinet meeting to be a fly on the wall for. It's an over 2-hour cabinet meeting. So we're like, we'll fast forward. We'll see who we want to speak with. Who do we want to hear from? Probably Pete. Maybe some Howard Lutnick. Maybe some Scott Bassett. Linda McMahon, if she's in the room, we'll hear Linda McMahon. We'll hear Elon Musk. We'll hear RFK Jr., Kristi Noem. Cabinet meeting, baby. Do we want to hear Pam Bondi? I don't know. We can hear enough about Pam Bondi when she goes on Fox News. Elon departing, says For America. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. We needed Elon to take the heat the first 100 days, and he was a great distraction. We'll be right back for that cabinet meeting after this musical break, brought to you by Dome Radio, who will be live tonight after the stream with the world famous All Request Wednesday. We'll be right back.